Alright, now let's take a look at graphing square roots. And graphing square roots, we're just going to pick points again, but the key to it is let's pick the right points. Now whenever you're graphing a square root, we want to make an XY table. Now when we pick the points, the first point that we pick is going to be similar to absolute value. The first point that we pick, what makes underneath the radical 0? What makes underneath the square root 0? So in this case it's just 0. Then I just want to pick two numbers larger because I can't pick anything smaller, because if I did, let's say I chose -1, well, that gives us a negative under the square root and we don't want that. So once you pick what makes underneath the square root 0, all you want to do then is pick two numbers larger. So I'm going to pick 1 and 4. Okay. Now I didn't pick 2 and 3. Why? Well, because I want to pick numbers that are perfect square roots. So I chose 0, 1. Well, of course 0, that's the first one we picked. And then I chose 1 and 4 because they're perfect square roots. So now I just evaluate them. Y equals the square root of 0, which is 0. Y equals the square root of 1, which is 1. And y equals the square root of 4, which is 2. So I'll plot my points 0, 1, 1, and 4, 2. And here's my graph. Okay. Now it doesn't come back down this way, okay, because we can't choose anything that makes underneath the radical negative. So the graph is just from what makes underneath the radical 0 in a positive direction. Okay. So let's look at one more. Y equals the square root of x plus 3. We're going to make our XY table. First number I pick, what makes underneath the radical 0? So what makes underneath the radical 0? Well, that's going to be what? -3. Then we pick two numbers larger than -3. So I'm going to choose -2, and I'm going to choose 1. Okay, so let's plug these in. I get y equals the square root of -3 plus 3, which equals the square root of 0, which is 0. And then I get y equals the square root of -2 plus 3, which equals the square root of 1, which is 1. And then y equals the square root of 1 plus 3, which is the square root of 4, which equals 2. See, I chose -2 and 1 because I knew they would give me perfect squares under the radical. So now I just plot the points: -3, 0, -2, 1, and 1, 2. And so I draw my graph. And there's the graph. And that's it. That's how you graph square roots. Just remember, the main thing is pick the first number, what makes underneath the radical 0, then pick two numbers larger. Alright.